Hello and welcome back to the final instalment of the Brothers War Standard set review. Today I will be covering off the multicolored artifact land and meld cards. The dog's just settling in to watch. Starting with multicolored, as before, we'll be looking at these mostly from a standard point of view. If I think of anything that is specific to alchemy along the way, I will mention it, but I won't really be considering it for any other formats. Thank you very much to everyone who has watched the other ones of these. It makes it worth doing. I'm mostly doing it for myself. I get to sort of force myself to go and sit down and look at the cards coming up, think of some decks ahead of time. Where I would normally be a bit more impulsive and wait until the cards are actually in the client to play around with them and build the decks. But also, if anyone can glean any insight from watching these, then even better. So, without further ado, I will start the multicolored cards. So the Arbalest Engineers is a 1, a red and a green human artificer 2/2. When it enters the battlefield, it deals 1 damage to any target. You choose one. You can put a 1/1 counter on target creature against trample and haste until end of turn, or you can create a tapped Power Stone token. This sort of reminds me of that one, a white and a green thing that can destroy artifact or enchantments. Obviously not quite as powerful. But 1 damage to any target is flexible, a 1/1 counter on target creature, so this is at least a 3/3 trample haste. Or you can give that 1/1 and trample haste to something else. Only until end of turn, sadly. The trample. I think this is alright. It'll probably see some play. I think depends on how many 1 toughness creatures get played as to how useful it is. But I've seen a lot worse cards printed, so yeah, not for an uncommon. This one not too bad at all. The Battery Bearer is 2, a green and a blue, a 3/4. So 3/4 for 4 human artificer again. Creatures you control have tap, add blank mana. This mana can't be spent to cast a non-artifact spell, so it turns your creatures into Power Stone tokens in addition to themselves. Whenever you cast an artifact spell with mana value 6 or greater, draw a card. If you wanted this effect, you would want it in Simic, I would say. So, as far as like being on what you want and in the right colours, it's half decent. I mean, being able to draw is handy, especially just for casting stuff. Artifacts of 6 or greater are rare. I mean, there are lots in this set, but I mean, how often are you going to be playing like 5 in a game to give this a real payoff? Especially you need to only really play a couple to make this pay off, but yeah. And then giving your creatures this ability. The problem I have with this really is, if you're playing a rampy green-blue deck, what creatures are you playing that aren't mana dorks? I mean, potentially things like Ether Channeler that can bounce stuff back to the opponent's hand and create you another 1/1. And then you play this on turn 4, and then you've got 3 mana dorks for artifacts. This kind of thing, yeah, that could be a decent little sort of green-blue rampy tempo deck in there. I think this is alright, actually. I mean, it's not brilliant because it costs 4, but given that there are plenty of creatures that create other creatures, I'm thinking the Resolute Reinforcements as well. I mean, I know that's a white card, but 3 colours are definitely an option in this day and age, so yeah. I think this is alright. Deathbloom Ritualist. It's a 3 and a black and a green, so 5 costing 3/5 rare elf warlock. Tap, add X of any one colour, where X is the number of creature cards in your graveyard. I'm not convinced by this. There could be some place for this, but I think it's just way too expensive. Next card, Evangel of Synthesis. Blue-black, 2/3, Phyrexian Human Cleric. When it enters the battlefield, draw a card, then discard a card. As long as you've drawn 2 or more cards this turn, it has 1/0 and menace. So, that is interesting. So in your own turn, this will be a 3/3 menace if you build your deck around it, which for 2 is extremely good. And the fact that it does a draw and discard itself, the first one, to get you going, I'm impressed by this. I think 3/3 menace. The only questions that I have really are there other aggressive cards that you could put in a blue-black deck that would make the 3/3 menace a worthwhile payoff. Things like Tenacious Underdog are good, because it also has 3 power and costs 2. Obviously, you're not guaranteed to be able to do that every turn either, but if you build your deck around it, it's likely that you can. There are enough connive triggers and things that would mean this gains menace after you attack. Things like Raffine, this would be very nice with. Things like Diviner in Alchemy. I can see this being played. It actually seems quite good to me, and the fact that it's not legendary is nice. Okay. Falaji Vanguard. 2 red and a white for a 2/3 human soldier with first strike. When it or another creature enters the battlefield under control, target creature gets +2/+0 until end of turn. Okay. So 2/3 for 4 is obviously very bad, but it gives another creature 2/0 when it comes in, and so it's any creature and it does trigger multiple times a turn. So as soon as I see this card, I'm thinking like rabble rousing maybe type deck, or Adeline, because you can play the Adeline and attack with this and then get 2 creatures. Basically you need to get multiple triggers of this to make it worth it. So I'd say probably not the best, but you know, with this build around, this could be a half decent effect to have it, you know, available. It's just that 4 is very expensive, so yeah, I think it's just on the verge of unplayable, but I'll definitely be trying it anyway. Okay, Hedjar Loyal Bodyguard is red and green, a legendary creature, human soldier, 3/3 for 2. Sacrifice it. Legendary creatures you control get +1/+0 and gain indestructible until end of turn. Okay, so it's a 3/3 with upside for 2, which is exactly what Gruul needs at the moment. Legendary creatures. I mean, obviously, this goes with the 5-color human who's legendary. Joda, the Unifier, is the first thought that this slots exceptionally nicely into that deck, as it gives you board wipe protection. Especially with no meat hook around, indestructible tends to be a very good board wipe protection. But there could also be just like aggressive Gruul decks that this goes in. There was a legendary red card, wasn't there? That was a 1-drop. There's also other legendary red-green cards coming out. So this looks really good to me. I think you'll see this pop up in lots of aggressive decks and Joda decks, and possibly elsewhere. Yeah, I think this is nice. Excuse me. Harbin the Vanguard Aviator. Blue and white for a 3/2 flying legendary human soldier. Whenever you attack 5 or more soldiers, creatures you control get +1/+1 and gain flying until end of turn. Okay, with all the blue-white soldier synergy that we've seen, a 3/2 flying for 2 that is a soldier and has an upside, that can be game-ending, I'd say this is one of the better cards that we've seen, to be honest, in the set. A 3/2 flying for 2 is incredible. I mean, just think how powerful it feels when the opponent plays a Tenacious Underdog or a Blood Tithe Harvester, which are 3/2s for 2. And they have other upside, but not that gives them evasion. I mean, this seems really good to me. And the fact that it's got like what I would call like a game-winning clause built into it, that if you manage to attack 5 soldiers, they all get bigger and gain flying. Yeah, as far as tribal cards go, this is very good. I'll definitely be trying a deck with this in it. Hero of the Dunes. 3 white-black, 3/2 human soldier. When it enters the battlefield, return target artifact. All creature with mana value 3 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. Creatures you control, mana value 3 or less, get +1/+0. Sounds nice in theory, but I think it's a bit of a meme for 5 as a 3/2. Like, this thing could be played and then cut down. No, not for me. Junkyard Genius. 1 a red and a black for a 2/2 human artificer. When it enters battlefield, create a Power Stone token, tapped. For 1 a red and a black, sacrifice another creature or artifact. Until end of turn, other creatures you control get +1/+0 and gain menace and haste. It seems okay, but a bit expensive. I mean, it does give you a Power Stone, that's why it has to be expensive. So, The implication is that you sack the Power Stone you create. However, you could use that Power Stone to pay for the one and sack other smaller artifacts that you want to die, or other small creatures that you want to die. So there probably will be some home for this, but yeah, it doesn't seem too bad. Anyway, Legions to Ashes. 1, a white and a black for a rare sorcery. Exile target non-land permanent and opponent controls, and all tokens that player controls are the same name as that permanent. Interesting. My mind immediately went to that card where it was like a 9 costing artifact that creates 2 tokens that are trample and haste, the same ones. So it's kind of a nice counter to that, although it's sorcery, so you can only counter it, only beat it down once it's in your turn. I mean, it's also going to be nice against the things like Power Stone tokens, I suppose. If there are decks that build up loads of Power Stone tokens, having this around is going to be nice. I mean, exile a non-land permanent for 3 is actually pretty good anyway. It's like the what do you call it? The white-black card that could exile a monocolour permanent. It's kind of like that, but for 3, and it hits anything and has upside. I mean, when you put it like that, I would say it's very good. I mean, it's 50% more expensive, so you would expect it to be. But I think it's a really solid removal card, and it's going to get you out of some tight spots. The tokens thing. Anyway, Mishra, Tamer of Makfawar. 3, a black and a red for a 4/4 legendary human artificer. Permanents you control have ward. Sacrifice a permanent. Each artifact card in your graveyard has unearth 1, a red and a black. Okay. I was saying in one of the last videos that ward is very strong, and being able to give all your permanents ward, sacrifice a permanent, seems very good to me. I mean, the thing is, it is a permanent. If it will sacrifice a non-land permanent, I would say this is broken, nearly. But because they can, if they need to, sacrifice a land to kill this, and then kill your other things. I think it looks really nice, but I think it's a bit expensive because you have to pay 5 and you have to have somehow put the artifacts in your graveyard, which granted by turn 5 you will have been able to do. But then unearthing them only gets them back for 1 turn, doesn't it? So, but I guess you could, excuse me, unearth the one that creates copies of itself. There's definitely a deck there. Reanimate it, like using this to reanimate the artifacts that leave something behind. There'll definitely be something there, but. So basically, I think if you think of this as a 5-cost reanimator spell, or an 8-cost reanimator spell, the ward is nice, but it's a bit easy to do, especially with all these Power Stone tokens littering around and soldier tokens. But I think it's got some legs, but 5 just worries me when I see how expensive that is. Queen Kayla Bin Krug is a 1, a red and a white, rare legendary human noble 2/3. And it just has an ability, which is 4 and tap. Discard all the cards in your hand, then draw that many cards. You may choose an artifact or creature card with mana value 1 that you discarded this way. Then do the same for artifact or creature cards for 2 and 3. Return those cards to the battlefield. Okay, so just to get this right, if you have a hand of 3 cards, they have mana values 1, 2 and 3. You could discard them all for 4, and then put them all onto the battlefield and get 3 new cards. So you basically would draw 3 and place 6 mana value worth of cards onto the battlefield. Okay. Obviously, it costs 3 to play her, and then the next turn you can do the ability. So it's very susceptible to removal. Cut down, it's starting to look very good again. But it is a bit of a bomb. But then how often are you going to have the right lineup for this? A 1, 2 and a 3. Basically this has to be the top of your curve. Because what you're doing is then basically being able to play out a lot of your hand and then replenish it with 3 cards. Or as many cards as you had. It's hard. It's really hard for me to evaluate this one. It seems okay, but it also seems a bit slow for what would be a low curve red-white deck. I could be massively wrong. I mean, if there's a combo that you could put together with 1, 2, and 3 costing cards, like, maybe it would be good, but yeah, hard to say. Hard to say. I'd say probably a bit slow. Saheeli, the Filigree Master, is a 2, a blue, and a red Planeswalker. Saheeli with 3 loyalty, +1 scry 1. You may tap an untapped artifact you control. If you do, draw a card. Okay, obviously very nice with Power Stone tokens. Create 2, -2 is create 2 1/1 colorless stop artifact creature tokens flying. They gain haste until end of turn, so it can create blockers to protect itself, which is nice, and also create the artifacts to tap for its plus ability. -4, so you could do after only 1 turn on the battlefield, is you get an emblem with artifact creatures you control get +1/+1, and artifact spells you control cost 1 less to cast. I mean, it sounds powerful. I like that it's got 2 things that spit out 2 creatures to defend themselves. Things like Lolth are quite hard to remove. I mean, Lolths did have reach, but these are flying, so they block all flyers, all, basically non-trample things, which is the same as Lolth, and that was hard to remove. But obviously, if you minus it, you're then waiting 3 turns to get back up to the ultimate. The ultimate isn't overwhelmingly powerful, but it is going to be powerful if you build around it, and it's got 2 effects, so you can build around one way or the other. If there are artifacts, and I can't remember, that generate other artifact creatures or spit them out, which I think there was, could be very nice. It's definitely going to be one to test out. It looks quite powerful to me, but it could be one of those things that's never used, but I think it's powerful. The Sarenth Great Worm, 4, a red and a green little mythic worm, 7/6 with trample. Whenever I land in this battlefield, create a tapped Power Stone token. So basically, landfall, create a tapped Power Stone token. I mean, a 7/6 trample for 6 is meh. You can get that on a common. Why do you need loads of Power Stone tokens after turn 6? I'm not convinced by this one. Skyfisher Spider, 2, a black and a green, 3/3 spider with reach. When it enters the battlefield, you may sacrifice another creature. When you do, destroy target non-land permanent. This is like the Ravenous Chupacabra or whatever it was called. When it dies, I mean, you have to sack something, but you may gain 1 life for each creature in your graveyard. If you do, exile it from your graveyard. It's pretty good. There are going to be decks where you want your creatures to die, and if you've got that kind of deck, a 4/4 body that destroys a non-land permanent, so not just creatures, and it's a 3/3 itself with reach, and then it gets you some life back. Yeah, I think this is alright in the right deck. Tornos of the Toymaker is a 3, a green and a blue legendary, a 3/5 human artist. For whenever you cast a beast or bird creature spell, you may copy it, except the copy is an artifact in addition to its other types. Obviously, to evaluate this properly, I would need to go through and see what beasts and birds there are in Standard, which I will do, but I suspect that this is unplayably bad. Let's see, but typically this type of effect, I'm thinking there was another blue-green guy who copied stuff if you didn't have a creature that shared the type and stuff, and that was only a 4-costing one. I mean, they're just a bit slow and clunky. Third Path Iconoclast, a blue and a red for a 2/1 human monk. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, create a 1/1 colorless soldier artifact creature token. This will definitely be used in some deck or another. Is it 2-drop that can spit out other creatures? Will have some use. I'm sure that this will. I have to dig into what that is. Tocassia, the Dig Site Mentor, 1 and a Bant for a legendary creature human artist for 4/3. Creatures you control have vigilance and tap surveil 1. Okay, curious. Exile her from your graveyard for 8 and return any number of target artifact cards with a total mana value 10 or less. Yeah, but total mana value of 10 and you've paid 8 to do it and exiled a 4-drop. Sorry, but I'm not seeing the benefit of this ability. Vigilance and tap Surveil 1 is half decent. I mean, you can put loads of weenies on the board with a broker's ascendancy or wedding announcement, make them a bit bigger, and then use them to surveil when they stop being able to get through. Maybe a one-off in certain banned creature decks, but I'm not convinced. Urza, the Prince of Krug, is 2, a white and a blue, a legendary creature, human, artist for 2/3, artifact creatures you control get +2/+2. Okay, double Anthem for artifact creatures. 6, create a token as a copy of target artifact you control, except it's a 1/1 soldier creature in addition to its other types. I mean, already this Iconoclast paired with this starting to look pretty good. You can spit these out as 3/3s instead of 1/1s by casting non-creatures. And if those non-creatures are artifacts, you've got quite a synergy going here. For a little Jeskai deck. It's kind of like a bit of a bomb rather than something you want to have down early. Like if you could build up enough of a board and then drop this and surprise the opponent, could be good. But I'd say it's medium power, this one. I can't wait to watch this back at the end and see how wrong I was, but anyway. The Yotian Dissident is a green and a white. Whenever an artifact enters the battlefield under control, put a 1/1 counter on target creature you control. Well, again, paired with something like the Iconoclast, starting to sound quite strong. But these are completely different colours, so there could be some build around that makes this work. It just needs a bit of thought and a bit of experimentation, I think. I mean, sadly, it's just a 1/1 for 2, but it could very quickly become a 2/2, and then it's okay. Maybe. The Yotian Tactician is 2, a blue and a white, human soldier 3/4. Other soldiers get +1/+1. Yeah, it's a lord, but it's 4 costing. It might be a 1 or 2 of in this soldier's decks if there aren't enough other good soldiers, but I suspect it's too expensive as a lord. Let's see. Blade Coil Serpent is X and 6 for a mythic artifact serpent, 5/4. When it enters the battlefield, for each blue spent to cast it, draw a card. For each black, each opponent discards a card. For each red, get 1/0 and trample and haste until end of turn. Okay, so if you play this for 6 for blue, black, red, it's going to be a 6/4 trample haste that lets you draw a card and opponent discards a card. I mean, discarding for black is meh. Drawing for blue is powerful because, you know, in mono blue this is just a 5/4 for 6 that draws you 3. It's going to be interesting to see which decks this appears in. I mean, if you just think about it from mono black, they discard 3 and it's a 5/4. But then by 6, have they got 3 cards in hand? Maybe. I like its flexibility, but it doesn't smack me as something immediately that has loads of uses. Especially as it's an artifact and there's artifact removal around. I think I'd hold fire on this one. The Clay Champion is an X and 4 construct, and it enters the battle with 3 1/1 counters on if each green is meant to cast it. When it enters, this is like the green-white version of that one. When it enters the battlefield, choose up to 2 other target creatures you control. For each white, spend to cast it, put a 1/1 on each of them. So hold on. If you play this on turn 4, as a mono green deck, it's an 8/8 for 4. That just seems insane. So what do we currently get for 4? We get an Elven World Oddity, which is 4/4 trample haste. This would be an 8/8, which is just infinitely harder to remove. Can only really be removed by white and black, where destroy or exile. You end up burning down an 8/8. I mean, and then that's if that's the worst case. I mean, if you play this for 6, it's going to be a bloody 11/11. I mean, this strikes me as a mono green card. I mean, there could be places where it's Slesnir-ish or white even. So if you play this in a mono white deck, it's a 2/2 for 4, and you can put 4 1/1 counters now. Yeah, I mean, mono white or mono green or maybe Selesnya decks are going to love this card. This also seems very strong to me. I cannot see a big drawback of this card. Much better than this one. Yeah, I like it. Okay, moving on to artifacts. Aeronaut's Wings, no. I'll give you an Avenger. No. Cityscape Level, that is 8. It's a mythic 8/8 trample construct. When you cast a spell and whenever it attacks, destroy up to one target non-land permanent. Its controller creates a tap house token. Unearth 8. If you can ever cast it, it's a house, isn't it? I mean, well, it levels your house. I mean, destroy target non-land permanent. This is the kind of thing that obviously you want to reanimate with something that gives it haste. Because if you can bring it into the battlefield and attack with it in the same turn. So Unearth is obviously very strong. But there will be other cheaper ways of doing that. Like, I don't know, the Olivia Vampire. There's probably better ways of doing it. But there are other ways of bringing creatures back and giving them haste. I'm sure this will have some annoying reanimation use. Like with that red-black card we looked at, you know, if you can give this Unearth 1 red-black, that becomes quite brutal. This will definitely see play. This one, no. No. So this is a flying artifact because of 1. Probably not much play. Okay, the Liberator. This is Battlethopter. What are on this? It's a 3 costing 1/2 legendary Thopter with flash and flying, and you may cast colourless spells and artifact spells as though they had flash. Whenever you cast a spell, if the amount of mana spent to cast it is greater than its power, put a 1/1 counter on it. I mean, this will definitely get used. I mean, the fact that it has flash and it can give your other colourless spells flash, I mean, it will be used in standard, I'm sure, but if not, it will definitely be used in other formats. It just sounds hilarious and dangerous. It's going to take a little while for someone to find the use for this, but it will have one. No. Portal to Phyrexia is a 9 costing artifact. When it enters the battlefield, each opponent sacrifices 3 creatures. At the beginning of your upkeep, put target creature card onto the battlefield from a graveyard. It's a Phyrexia. It's just too expensive for 9, isn't it? Because what if the opponent isn't playing creatures, or not many creatures, or creatures you don't care about? Yeah. I'm not convinced by that one. Sounds fun, but I doubt it's got a lot of real application. No. 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 1/1/1/2 protection from multicolour. It's a soldier, so it's got a very relevant type. And whenever a non-beta land enters the battle under opponent's control, you gain 1 life. This probably will have some kind of use. It depends on what the good decks are, if there's lots of multicolour going around, but a 1/2 for 1 that gains you life and has protection from multicoloured, yeah, I can see this being used. The Stasis Coffin is a 3-drop legendary artifact. 2 tap, exile the Stasis Coffin. You gain protection from everything until your next turn. Okay, so protection from everything means you won't take damage, you can't be targeted. I mean, the main use I could see of this is you put this with the Battlethopter, and then you can flash this in and then sack it and gain protection from everything as like a surprise fog slash, you know, fog from everything, fog from spells as well. Yeah, I guess these two combined are pretty nice. Having this down it's also a big deterrent for your opponent. It's going to be something for them to play around. I'm sure this will be used in a similar way though that like Khan's Silex is used. It's like something that you have to work around as the opponent, which can be difficult to do. So I like it. I like the design. Steel Exemplar is 5/4/4 wizard with trample. When it enters the battlefield with 2/1 counts on it, unless 2 or more colours are sent to cast it. So it's a 6/6 Tronet. No, too expensive. The Stone Brain 2 legendary artifact. 2 exile it. Choose a card name. Search target opponent's graveyard, hand, and library for up to 4 cards of that name and exile them. That player shuffles, then draws a card for each card exiled. I mean, this is the kind of effect we've been missing from Standard for a little while, which is like a card hate effect, which lets you basically ruin combos or ruin one card strategies. I have been yearning for this type of effect back in Standard. I love having this in my sideboard. I sometimes even love having it in my main deck. The fact that it's an artifact and can go in any deck, I'm going to say makes this incredibly powerful. Big thumbs up. This card will see a lot of play, especially in like the higher tier games. No, 8/8 Vigilance, Ward 4. Still probably a no, unless you can use the Unearth card to get 8 mana when it comes back in, but probably not. No. Whenever a creature of power equals tough. Interesting card, but no. Thran Power Suit is a 2-costing equipment. Equipped creature gets +1/+1 for each aura and equipment attached to it and has Ward 2. I mean, if equipment can work, this is the equipment to make it happen. 1/1 for each aura and equipment and has Ward 2. I actually quite like it. I'll probably give this a go at some point, although equipment in general is rubbish. The Thran Spider, reach, and when it enters the battlefield, you and target opponent each create a tapped Power Stone token. 3 is a 2/4 for 3 Spider. 7. Look at the top 4 cards. I think it's not very good. 2/4 for 3 with reach isn't awful, but you're giving them a Power Stone token too. I mean, obviously they won't have as good a use for it as you probably, but probably not so great. And the Tower Worker is a no. So, on to the lands. Alright, moving on to the lands. They're finishing off these Pain Lands cycle, so I won't go through all the Pain Lands. Blast Zone is a reprint. Enters battlefield with a charge counter on it. You can get 1 colourless. You can pay XX, put X charge counters on it, and then sack it for 3 and destroy each non-land permanent mana value equal to the number of charge counters on Blast Zone. I mean, this saw play previously, and I think with Power Stone tokens around, i.e. you could put 0 charge counters on it and wipe out all the opponent's Power Stone tokens, is I think the expected use of this. But yeah, it saw play before, and I expect it will see play now. It's normally quite a good land as a one-of, particularly in control decks. Demolition Field. This reads exactly like Field of Ruin to me. Non-land, non-basic land. I don't see how this isn't just Field of Ruin. Evolving Wilds is in this set. The Beachhead. You may reveal a soldier card from your hand. Enters the battlefield tapped. Unless you revealed a soldier this way, or you control a soldier. Soldiers you control get +1/+1 until end of turn. 5 and tap. Yeah, I mean, blue-white soldiers is definitely going to be a deck, and this land looks very nice. Hall of Tagzin is... creates you Power Stones for 4, or 1 for any colour. I mean, if you're into Power Stones, this could be good. It looks a little bit like the Vampire land that creates you blood tokens. Except it costs mana rather than life to do the any colour. Mishra's Foundry is a colourless 2, becomes a 2/2 artifact creature until end of turn. It's still on land. So it's a creature land, but it's only a 2/2 assembly worker. But there are things that buff artifact creatures and assembly workers, isn't there? So yeah, I mean, creature lands are never to be sniffed at. 1 tap, target attacking assembly worker gets +2/+2 until end of turn. Okay. Maybe there was 1 or 2 assembly workers, wasn't there? But Uh, I mean, artifact, a creature lands, yeah, can't discount them. The dig site, 3, surveil 1, probably too expensive, and the rest are basics. Okay, lands are quick. Meld, so these are the real fun ones. So there are 6 Meld cards, which are basically come in pairs, I believe. So if we, half of these cards say, if this and the other card exist, then transform them. So we'll just do them in their pairings if we can, with the ones that name the other cards. So this one has that. So this is a 3 costing 3/4 legendary elemental with reach, which is already quite a good stat line. Whenever 1 or more land cards are put into your graveyard from anywhere, you gain 2 life. Okay, so when land cards go into your graveyard, gain life. At the beginning of your upkeep, if there are 4 or more lands in your graveyard, so you have to have put 4 in there, and you own both this and Argoth Sanctum of Nature, which is this land here, exile them and meld them into Titania Gaia Incarnate. So Argoth Sanctum of Nature is, when it enters the battlefield, tapped unless you control a legendary green creature, which Titania is, but there are others. Add green, so it is just as good as a forest, but it enters tapped if you don't have a legendary green. But it itself isn't legendary. 4, tap, create a 2/2 green bear creature token, then mill 3. Okay, so the idea is that you can mill lands into your graveyard with this in order to meld them, but presumably the best way to do it will be other ways of milling. So if we then meld these, it becomes Titania Gaia Incarnate with these abilities. So it becomes a legendary creature elemental avatar with vigilance, reach, trample, and haste. Its power and toughness are each equal to the number of lands you control. When it enters the battlefield, return all lands from your graveyard to the battlefield. So it's going to be at least a 4/4, because you had to put 4 in there, and you had to pay 3 for this. It's at least a 7/7. 4 1/1 counters on target land. You could animate a land and make it a 4/4 for 4. And it itself is a 7/7 vigilant, reach, trample, haste. It doesn't feel that hard to achieve either, because this is just a land at the end of the day. Albeit a tap land, but you could run 4 of these happily. And then other ways to put lands in your graveyard, and then once you hit your Titania, you get one of these. So at the beginning of your upkeep, so your Titania has to survive a turn, but this one seems relatively achievable to meld, to be honest, and melding it is going to be a lot of fun. There'll definitely be people trying this on day 1, so now you know what it does. I mean, that looks quite good to me, because neither of these cards is bad on its own. I mean, the land is fine, it's not great. This actually looks alright. Yeah, it looks alright. Alright, let's try the others. Mishra, claimed by Gix, is a 4 costing 3/5 legendary Phyrexian human artificer. Whenever you attack, each opponent loses X life and you gain X life, where X is the number of attacking creatures. Okay, if Mishra, claimed by Gix, and a creature card named the Phyrexian Dragon Engine are attacking, you both own and control them, exile them, and meld them into Mishra. Okay. It enters the battle, okay, because you are attacking with both these, and then the subsequent creature is attacking. As a standalone card, this is okay. It's not awful. I mean, it's a bit weak for 4, but you'd expect that for something that has a big upside on the back. This one is a 3 costing 2/2 double strike dragon. When it enters the battlefield from your graveyard, you may discard your hand. If you do, draw 3 cards. Okay. And it has Unearth for 5. The trick with these 2 is going to be keeping them both alive long enough to attack with both of them. Because presumably you're not playing them on the same turn, or if you are, then fine, but that's 7. And there's not loads of protection in red-black, which there is in green. But let's see what the payoff is. So you get Mishra, Lost to Phyrexia, which is a 9/9. Whenever it enters the battlefield or attacks, choose 3. Target opponent discards 2. It deals 3 damage to any target. Destroy target artifact or planeswalker. Creatures you control gain menace and trample. Creatures you don't control get -1/-1 until end of turn, or create 2 power set tokens. I mean, Jesus, on a 9/9, all of that, it's obviously incredibly powerful. I mean, the thing about this card is it's just so flexible. There's 6 different abilities and you choose 3 of them on a 9/9 that comes in attacking. Very difficult to evaluate this again. Never had a mechanic like this, but obviously the thing about these is they can still just be destroyed by like a Doomblade type effect, a grasp, but if they were going to do that, they would have done it on the pieces, right? Or maybe not. Once you let them combine, it's 1 destroy rather than 2. This feels like it could be a bit of a meme mechanic rather than actually useful, but it will feel bad to lose one of these. The final one is as a Lord Protector. So artifact, instant and sorcery spells cost 1 less. This is on a 3 costing 2/4. That's actually a pretty decent effect on a 3-drop. And then you have to pay 7 and you can meld it with this. That's interesting. So there's get a mana gateway on this one rather than just having the 2 things. When it enters the battlefield, this is a 5 costing legendary power stone. When it enters the battlefield, choose 1, draw 2, or target or basically kill something. And it has add 2. Okay. So once you play this, this can add 2 to pay for this. So the gateway is only actually 5. And then the melded version of these is a Planeswalker as a Planeswalker, which is a 7 loyalty. And it says, once during each of your turns, you may activate an additional loyalty ability. You could use them twice. I know this is a very good view of me right now. +2, artifact, instants, and sorcery spells you cast this turn cost 2 less to cast, and you gain 2 life. Is a +2. +1 is draw 2 cards and discard a card. 0 is create 2 1/1 colorless soldier artifact creature tokens. -3, exile target non-land permanent, which you could do twice on the turn you bring this in, as it starts with 7 loyalty. -10, artifacts and planeswalkers you control gain indestructible until end of turn. Destroy all non-land permanents. So you could +2 twice and then -10 next turn. I mean, there are planeswalkers and then there are Urza planeswalker. That thing is powerful as shit. Is it worth trying to build these 2 together? I mean, this one is alright. It costs 5, but you can either draw 2 or kill something, and it ramps you into other stuff maybe in your deck. I think this is the hardest to do, maybe? Although this is hard to remove. Maybe not. I mean, this is the easiest to remove. I'd say this is probably the weakest one, even though the creature is cool. I mean, it's just a bit easy to disrupt. This one is probably most powerful and second easiest. This is the easiest, but the least powerful. But they're very cool mechanics. I do like them. It'd be interesting to see how much play these get. It's incredibly difficult to evaluate how good these are, given we've never really seen something like Meld before. But yeah, I'm sad there's only 3 of them really, but it'll be interesting to see if we get any more of this mechanic printed in future. I guess it'll depend on the success of them. I would love to play this in tabletop where you can, have this double-sized card on the battlefield. It looks so cool, but let's see what animations they've put into Arena for it anyway. Okay, that's the end of Artifact, Multicolour, Artifact, Land and Meld. So that completes the Brothers War standard card review. I mean, out of these, there were loads of powerful multicoloured cards. I think Hajar is very powerful. I mean, the Soldier's starting to look really good, to be honest. That's probably one of the first decks I am going to try personally. And this Clay Champion looks bonkers in mono green, so there's definitely a few where this type of card will just slot into mono green decks. The Soldiers is going to need you to craft about 3,000 new rares of mythics to get it, so it depends on how much you want to spend when this set comes out, I suppose. But in general, some cards will just slot straight in. That nice mono green one, and these Meld ones, obviously you need we need 8 rares just to be able to try and do the damn thing. But yeah, some really exciting stuff to play with, and I really can't wait for it to come out. But thank you very much for listening to me ramble on for all this time. I really do appreciate it. I hope you managed to glean some insight and get some ideas for decks of your own to build on day 1 of the Brothers War release. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you next time.